Well, welcome to Apologia Module 15 on the urinary system. If anyone accuses me of not going the extra mile for my students, you can see here my button-down shirt which I have put on in my house, the place of my own dwelling, to record these videos because Mr. Hale wants us to look presentable. So I'm going the extra mile here. And I've made this presentation. Hopefully you're going to get the notes in your packet on Monday. The thing you may notice is that I've included some questions for you to do. Those are found at the end of the chapter, and I know we haven't really done them before, but since we are distance learning, I figured that having like a homework-like grade would be good for us, and I know that kind of means more work for you, but hopefully they will stir your ability to think about these things. In my college anatomy and physiology class, we did not have any homework. And unfortunately for me, that was not a good thing, because really I didn't feel compelled to read my textbook. And because I didn't feel compelled to read my textbook, I really got hit hard on the first couple of tests until I realized, hey, I gotta pore over this material. And I know our textbook isn't the most thrilling, but the textbook does have a lot of valuable information in it. So, let's consider a couple things with the urinary system. Hopefully this is going to take me 4 videos to record. I have a lot of stuff to talk about, and there's a lot to go around here, so let's consider the first couple of things. The first is homeostasis. This is a binding idea that is within this entire textbook. Homeostatic mechanisms keep us regulated. You have a stimulus, which is monitored by a sensor. The sensor is directed to a control center, which leads to an effector, which affects the stimulus. An example of this would be body temperature. If you are exceeding, let's say, 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37 degrees Celsius, sensors like nerve cells on the ends of skin are like, hey, it's a little warm. Send a message to the control center that regulates temperature, and that control center is going to send a message to an effector, hey, let's sweat this out. And then sweating lowers the body temperature, hopefully creating less of a stimulus. And this is a negative feedback loop. The body's urinary system maintains homeostasis in 3 main ways. Now there are hundreds of ways it maintains homeostasis, and we're going to talk about more than these 3 main ways. But the key here is the removal of urea, or nitrogen-filled wastes from the bloodstream that just gather up over time naturally, just due to the fact that we consume things and we produce waste, as does every creature on Earth. The kidneys also monitor and control water and salt balance in the bloodstream, both of which are very important. And it is also involved, thirdly, in the regulation of blood pressure, and we're going to see that in a couple of slides. Now let's talk about the anatomy of the urinary system. 4 main organs and basic components. The first of which is the kidneys. The kidneys have the general function of filtration of water. The second of which is the ureters. The ureters are the tubes in which the kidneys use to transport urine and blood to the bladder. Urine and water along those nitrogenous wastes. Hopefully you're not having any blood in your bladder. The bladder is a storage of urine. It is pseudo-stratified transitional epithelium, which allows for a range of size, which is very unique among any of our tissues. The bladder can be very small, it can also be very large. And lastly, number 4 is a urethra, the tube that the body uses to the outside of the body. The kidneys have unique placement among lots of organs. If you consider the location of some of the other major organs, the liver, the spleen, appendix, etc., you're going to find that the kidneys are placed behind those things, thus being known as, I'm going to try and pronounce this, retroperitoneal organ. I'm going to pull out the pronunciation guide in the book a couple times throughout this, because there's some really interesting ones for pronunciation. And its placement is affected by the abdominal tract. For instance, the kidney location may be lower or higher depending on what side of the body it is on, because certain sides of the body have clumps of gastrointestinal tracts, and even some people have unique gastrointestinal issues where they may have parts of their colon removed or parts of their stomach or small intestine fused, thus creating different room for the kidneys. This word, which I'm going to attempt to pronounce again, retroperitoneal organ, has to do with the location in the back. So the kidneys are shoved to the back side of the body, which if you have a pain right around the abdomen area, a lot of times that's not a kidney issue. And the reason is because the kidneys are located more in the back of the body, or towards the middle. I'm going to move myself here. Kidney anatomy. Unlike many other organs, the kidneys are not ones that are meant to be moved. A lot of organs have fluids which lubricate their membranes to be able to slide around. Your lungs are very slidey, so is most of your intestines. Kidneys aren't meant to do that for a very good reason. And that is because if the kidneys slip out of place, the ureters, these tubes, can get pinched. And if your tubes, the ureters, get pinched, the urine flow gets blocked. And you can think of it kind of like a straw. If you pinch a straw, you're not going to get much liquid moving through the straw. And so, anyway, to prevent their movement, there is a layer of pararenal fat which surrounds the kidney. You can see that this is quite a large layer of fat, and this is a cross-section of the kidney. The fat actually is almost as large as the kidney itself, and that is meant simply to make sure that the kidney does not move in its position. And this is... let me move myself. There you go. This is a continued idea in kidney anatomy. Your kidneys are bean-shaped, roughly about the size of a clenched fist. So you can kind of imagine this being the size of your kidney. For some reason I felt they were a little larger, but they're not. And they have several main regions. And this is going to get kind of confusing, but hopefully these diagrams are going to clear it up. And part of this is going to have to transition to the next video, which is going to make it even more confusing. But stick with me. It's not too bad. The renal capsule surrounds the kidney in connective tissue. So surrounding the entire kidney is this capsule, which is a protective tissue, but also connective tissue allows the kidney to communicate with things that are not part of itself. You also have the renal cortex, which makes up the outer region of the inside of the kidney. It's like the outside of the inside. And so you can see the renal cortex here. This is the outside of the inside of the kidney. The medulla makes up the inside of the kidney, if that makes sense. And the medulla is made of what's called a renal pyramid. And we're going to discover more about this on the next slide, which I'm going to save for the next video. And these renal pyramids form the boundaries of the medulla and the cortex. So at the base of these pyramids, if you think a triangle, the base of the pyramid here is the boundary. So this would all be cortex, and this would all be medulla. So, in fact, I'm going to show you a sneak peek of the next slide, just to be safe here. Here is the renal pyramid. You can see that it kind of has a pyramid shape, kind of, sort of. And this portion, the pyramid portion, is the medulla, and the non-pyramid portion is considered the outside. It's considered the cortex. Well, anyway, tune into the next video. I will see you guys later.